Hello everyone. So this week's lab, we're going to combine everything we've talked about with command lines, JSON and APIs, as well as requests, and we're going to combine it into one single application that automatically goes out and takes an email address that you're going to pop into the command line and gets you some information about it. So let's open it up, and this is how it should look in your application. So let me clear it out and we'll run it. So what we're going to do is you're going to have emailinfo.py. I'm going to run the solution here, and you're going to pass to it an email address. I would suggest you use this email address. You're welcome to use any email address you want. I know Tri-C's email system, they're using 365, blocks some of this information. So if you try to use a Tri-C account, it's probably not going to work properly. So use a Gmail account. You're welcome to use mine here. If we hit enter, wait a minute, it's going out to the web, taking the JSON, converting it, and then it's going to display all of it on the screen. So you'll notice this week it looks a lot cleaner. Why? Because over the next couple weeks, part of what I want you to focus on is making sure that your code and your tools look good. It should look good for the user. The data should be formatted properly in columnar format. So if you'll notice here, I have some keys on the left side, and they're all spaced properly, and all the values on the right side all line up. Make sure you spend the time to make your code and your output look good. I also expect comments this week. There's going to be some points tied to comments. There's also an extra credit opportunity for help if you want to take that challenge. So again, what we're doing here is we're passing in an argument, an email address, and in the code it's taking that email address and it's going out to the web service, and it's getting information, and then it's displaying to the user. So let's go look at the code and break down what you're going to do. You'll notice there's not a lot of template code this week, because the other thing that you're going to need to do over the next couple weeks is write this stuff from scratch. I'm not saying you have to write everything from without any examples. I've provided plenty of examples this week and in previous weeks that you can use. That's the point of this. It's building up your knowledge from week to week. So there's 4 steps here. So what we're importing at the very beginning is the JSON module, the request module, and the sys module. Those are the 3 modules you're going to use. So part 1, you're going to parse the command line and grab the email address. So I've put in an example Python, emailinfo.py, and then a space and mdctric@gmail.com. So remember, sys.argv index 0, that's the name of the script. sys.argv index 1 is the email address that you put in. Now here's an opportunity, 3 points of extra credit if you can display help, either for no arguments or for a help flag, and it has to work completely for you to get the credit. So while I've provided no template code, let's jump back to the content from our first video. You should be looking at this code because that's a big hint on what you should do. So for instance, if you wanted the 3 extra credit points of help, you would have a help function, and you would have these if statements. We know that Python's parsing your arguments properly, but I want you to really think about how can you do this. How can you add functionality? How can you make it look good? So the expectation in part 1 is that you will have a variable that you're going to pass this information into. So when I say parse the command line, you're grabbing the address from the argument. And let me add in here for clarity and saving to a variable. So maybe you have a variable called email, and email would grab the value from sys.argv at index 1, and that would be part 1. I just gave you the answer. So part 2, you're going to request the page at https://api.truemail.io, whack v2, whack lookups, whack JSON, question mark email equals, and the end of that string will be the email address passed to sys.argv1 that you've then saved into the variable in part 1. So go ahead and use requests. Let's flip back to our other lesson here. Requests.get, and we have this first part here, and then you took sys.argv, you saved it to an address, possibly called email. You'll want to put that variable here, not in the string literal, but maybe something like that. And then in part 1, maybe it's email equals sys.argv1, maybe something like that. That would solve those two things. Now you could say, well, why can't I just take sys.argv and put it here? Because that's not what I'm asking to do. So save the argument into an email variable, pass the email variable downwards to the request object. All right, so that's part 2. I've basically given you the answer for part 1 and part 2. Part 3, parse the request text JSON and save the new Python dictionary into a variable. Hint, use json.loads. Let's go back to our second lesson here. So we grab the email from the argument, we save the request object, we grab the result text, and then we put it into a Python dictionary. How do we put it into a Python dictionary? The result text, we save it to a variable, and then we load it into JSON. The JSON object's using the load string. Load string converts it to a Python dictionary. There's your answer for part 3. All right, now let's go back to this. Part 4. I want you to spend time here. So I'm basically giving you answers for part 1 through 3. Part 4, I already started it for you, and you'll want to make this look good. Again, we're building tools. We're going to be building a cybersecurity tool. Your cybersecurity tool is an application used by an end user. Someone has to consume it. Someone needs to understand it. So make sure it looks good. So, for instance, you print username, and maybe you have username, domain, valid format, all these. One of the tricks to make columnar format is put spacing, right? So when you're printing these strings, and this is just an example, but add some extra spaces. That way everything can line up, so that when you run the application, you're seeing, this is part 4. I want to see all these values down a straight line. I want to see this look good. You should, at the very top, you should talk about what is my application. If you have a data table, all right, information for email, you should have a table title. I know that in previous weeks we've really focused on a lot of different Python topics, but this is an important one too. If you remember, kind of week before midterm, we talked about the proper way to comment your code, the proper way to put in doc strings. You should be doing that now. Your output should look clean. I'm expecting comments. That's going to be part of the grading here, is you need to comment your code. If you write a function, so your extra credit. Let's see here. You see this print help. There we go. Look, I put a doc string. And then maybe here, output information regarding, there we go. You see, you should be commenting, should be putting in doc strings. Good luck with this week's lab. If you have any questions, let me know. Again, 4 parts. Part 1, grab sys.argv, the first index, save it to a variable. Part 2, make a request to this URL. Remember to put the email at the end. Let me delete that comma. If you're doing cut and paste, that comma will make it fail. Put the email at the end there, grab the request text, do a raise for status, Parse the request, text, JSON, save it into a Python dictionary, and then make it look good. This is a tool. This is a full tool. This is something you could, throw on GitHub. Someone would download it. Someone might use it, make it part of a bigger package. You need to make sure that you're making it operate, be very functional, run without errors. But this is, I want to get you prepped and ready to start thinking about your project, because that's what you're doing. You're building a tool, something that I could use every day in my job, something that would provide me some good information if I'm doing some operational intelligence gathering or footprinting on an organization. So that's basically it. If you have any questions, as always, send me an email. Please avoid emails on the day it's due, because it's kind of annoying. I'm also trying to make videos and prep for the week, so make sure we're all doing this in a timely manner. And good luck. Have a great week.